And under this enormous pressure, there was a mountain chain pushed up, the Caledonian mountain chain. You might have heard about that in school. In the following millions of years, this mountain chain, which was about 6,000 feet high in this area, was eroded almost completely away again. We only find little remnants in Norway today, while you find a little bit more in Great Britain, I've been told. Anyhow, some 50 million years ago, these two continental plates finally split up, moving apart, the Atlantic Ocean forming between them, and that is when the Baltic shield to which we belong tilted. It tilted up in the west and down in the east, and that is why we now have the high mountains in western Norway, while eastern Sweden and Finland are almost completely flat. And since then, as many as 40 ice ages have shaped this landscape, turning the cracks and weak zones in the mountains into valleys and fjords. The last ice age was over about 10,000 years ago. During that ice age, an ice cap rested across Scandinavia, which was at its thickest more than 2 kilometers, pretty thick, up to almost 2 miles. And you can imagine that that ice cap had an enormous weight. And under that weight, the crust of the Earth sank down into the mantle of the Earth. And as the ice started melting, the crust started rising again, and it still is. Here in the fjords by 1 millimeter each year, at the moment accelerating because our glaciers are melting back even more. And in eastern Sweden, where the ice was thicker by as much as 1 centimeter each year. As a total, during the past 10,000 years, this area has risen by 250 meters, 750 feet. But we only see half of that because, of course, as the ice melted, the sea started rising and covers about half that distance. So that is the reason why we have this terraced landscape. We are driving on former fjord bottom. Since the last ice age, we've had mild periods and we've had cold periods. About 7,000 years ago, it got so mild that all the glaciers in mainland Europe melted away. There was no ice left in mainland Europe. And that lasted for about 1,500 years until it got colder again and the glaciers started forming once more. So the oldest ice we can find here in Norway at the moment is 5,000 years old. During medieval times, it was very mild, maybe even milder than today, and the glaciers retreated. But then the climate changed, and it got colder, and the glaciers advanced again until they reached their peak in around 1750. We call that period the Little Ice Age. And during that time, the glaciers advanced so much that some of them threatened human settlements, that surviving in Norway was really, really hard. The climate change caused malharvests, and the people were malnourished. Contagious diseases could spread, like tuberculosis, and the people had a really hard time surviving. During the 20th century, the glaciers continued to melt back. But in 1990, the picture changed again. Here in Western Norway, the continental glaciers kept on melting away, but in Norway, the glaciers actually advanced because we had 10 years of increased precipitations. And a glacier forms and grows when there is more precipitation than what can melt away during the short summer months. During the 1990s, the Briksdal Glacier, which we are visiting today, advanced by as much as 300 meters, 900 feet. But in 2000, it started to melt back again. And in 2007 alone, it melted back by more than 500 feet. So if you've seen old pictures of the Briksdal Glacier, you will be disappointed today because it is much, much smaller. In 2000, we hiked across the foot of the glacier with our tourists tied up in a rope with crampons on our feet and an ice axe and a helmet and gloves. Of course, that is impossible today because the glacier is hanging up on the wall and you cannot reach it anymore. This year I'm doubting the global warming theory. But this weather is not unnormal for Western Norway. And in Germany we say have a very good harvest. So let's bear it with a smile. It is, after all, the farmers who feed us. We are going to take a short photo break here at the lake. Please be careful when crossing the road. You can see another avalanche ahead, and you can see a tunnel opening into which we will soon disappear. That is because of the avalanche. In summer, on the way down the valley, you drive on the outside of the tunnel, but in the winter, and you see the reason why, the tunnel has traffic in both directions. And they carry them along, scraping on the rock surface below with the help of these rocks and breaking loose even more. And in warmer times, when they retreat, they leave these rocks, this gravel, this sand behind, and we call it the moraines. We have the ground moraine, on which we are driving at the moment. We have the lateral moraines on either side, and we have the terminal moraine in front of the glacier front, as it deposits when the glacier stops and starts melting back. And you will see a very instructive terminal moraine today as you come up to the glacier lake of the Briksdal Glacier, because you will be climbing a wall of sand and gravel. That is the terminal moraine of the year 2000 of the Briksdal Glacier. And along the way you will see signposted earlier terminal moraines, like the one of 1910, for example, which was much more advanced than the one of 2000. Please do me a favor and do not approach the vertical wall on which the Briksdal Glacier is hanging. Please do not walk past the signs that are up there, because there is a real danger of rocks falling down, ice falling down, avalanches coming down, and I promise you, you won't make a beautiful corpse when you've been hit by a rock. And that is a real danger. So please do respect the signs. So hiking up to the glacial lake will take about 40 minutes. It depends on your physical condition. They have built staircases which shorten the way considerably, so 40 minutes as an average should do. There is no use in running. The fastest one will not receive a gold medal. He will be punished by having to wait for all the others. So take your time. It will be a hike without human noises except for your own and those of your fellow passengers. Enjoy the sound of the water. The birds may be singing despite the temperature. The wind moving the fresh leaves. Do enjoy your time up there. It will be a long time until you get to another place that quiet. After you come back down again, walking down is a bit shorter. It's a bit easier for those who don't have sore knees. And after coming down again at 11:45, you are expected for a coffee break. But if you come a little bit later, it doesn't matter. It's self-service anyhow. It's included in your fare, and you will be taken well care of at the Briksdal Lodge. It says cafeteria on the wall above the entrance, and you just walk straight through. It is signposted, and there's always somebody telling you where to go. It's self-service for coffee or tea and for a wide assortment of cakes, which are usually very good up there. The other day I had 3 coffee breaks and I came rolling home. This coach will be departing at 12:45. So at 1:45, please be back on coach number 5. You will have the same coach. So if you feel that it is so warm that you want to leave your jacket behind, you may do so. Or your camera or whatever you don't want to carry. But I do advise you bring your jacket. It is a chilly day. And glaciers tend to produce strong winds, falling winds. So maybe even though it is not windy down here, it might be quite windy at the foot of the glacier. I saw one gentleman in shorts. He must have looked at the calendar and not been on his balcony to sample the weather. So we reckon we'll be back at the water level in the lakes rose and flooded the nearby meadows and fields and caused malharvests. So the farmers in this valley, they were not very wealthy, and they had trouble paying the taxes to the king. So they elected one of them to hike across the mountains, across the glaciers, down to Copenhagen, and ask the king to lower their taxes. The King of Denmark and Norway. They elected a man by the name of Hugleif Tungøen. Can you pronounce that? Oh, very good. And he hiked across the glacier, across the mountains, favorable of this petition, and he lowered the taxes. So Hugleif came back on foot, across the mountains, across the glaciers, came to the valley and was celebrated as a hero. A few years later, he was sent away to the king for another petition. I don't know what content it had, but he hiked once again across the glacier, across the mountains to Copenhagen, presented his petition, and returned the same way, but he was out of luck. When he crossed the glacier, he was surprised by a blizzard and froze to death. So he is until this day celebrated as one of the 2 great heroes of this valley, and they have even raised a statue of him. What they did in the 1940s, was dig out the drainage waterfall of one of the lakes, this one we just left behind, to lower the water level by 3 feet. And since then, flooding has not been a problem in this valley. Maybe it even was the German occupation forces. They were good at digging. maybe they did some good after all. As you are hiking, cast an eye on the rocks you will see along the way. It is a special type of gneiss, with a silent G, gneiss. Gneiss came into being when the two continental plates collided, and under this enormous pressure the rock melted, the granite melted and re-aggregated. And in this valley we have a very special, peculiar kind of gneiss with almond-shaped inclusions. We call it eye gneiss because the almonds look like eyes. Very beautiful stone, and in front of the cafeteria entrance you will see tables from polished gneiss. Very beautiful. You can have it as a kitchen top. Very expensive kitchen top. We will soon be passing a factory on the right-hand side. That is a water factory. It bottles melted glacial water from the glacier up above us to the right. It is guaranteed free of human pollution because it has been sitting in the glacier for 3,000 years. It is bottled under the name of Olden. You can buy it as still water, as carbonated water, or with different tastes. I think they sell a total of 9 varieties. If I don't have tap water of good quality, like I do in my home, then I buy Olden water. We have a lack of bus drivers in Norway. Would you like to be a bus driver here? You would be most welcome. Oh, I was forgetting about Brexit. Maybe you'll have to apply. I'm sorry. I work in the Agency for Food Safety, Animal Health and Welfare, and many companies that do export-import with Great Britain. Now you can see the Melkevold Glacier. Melkevold means the hill that gives good milk. So probably the moraine was rich in minerals below the glacier, and the cows or goats, this valley has mainly goats, gave good milk. To the right you can see the typical gneiss of this area. You will be hiking through a national park, so please don't build cairns or alter the landscape in any other way. We don't have armed rangers in Norway, but please don't. If you want to carry a rock along, you will find beautiful examples behind the buses on the parking lot, and they are free for you to take. So once again, the schedule, just to make sure, are flat. There are toilets here in the cafeteria, which we have straight in front of us, to the left as you enter. And there are toilets in the tourist shop. Just without being shy, walk past the cashier and to the toilets. They are made for you. And this to the right is where the hike starts. You can't go wrong. There's only one way through the valley.